You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Cricket Podcast, where we are previewing Group A of the 2022 IPL. We've just talked about Rajasthan Royals. We will now be talking about Mumbai Indians. But before we do, just a quick reminder that this show is sponsored by Serious Cricket, seriouscricket.co.uk to go and get your cricket equipment. Use the code TCP22 for 10% off and give yourself a happy Easter, which is coming up around the corner. Yeah. Get yourself a cricket egg. That's
cricket egg.
Or patreon.com/the cricket pod if you want to support the show directly. Bonus shows, discords, fantasy leagues, that sort of stuff. It's all good. We're talking about Mumbai Indians next, aren't we, fellas?
We are indeed.
Mm-hmm. The boys in blue, the kings of the IPL, the legends of the IPL. Coached by Jayawardene, captained by Rohit Sharma. I've got the down here, fellas, and you can agree with this or not. The Bill Belichick, Tom Brady combination of the IPL. Max, as an American football fan, do you approve of that? And actually,
yeah,
I was thinking,
we just need to see whether one or the other of Rohit and Jayawardene goes elsewhere, and see if the magic continues.
Yeah, I did think Keane Ferguson, but I don't know if they're quite at that level yet.
Yeah.
Jayawardene doesn't strike me as someone who's got a hairdryer treatment in him.
No, I was going to say, will we see Rohit Sharma doing punditry and absolutely hosing down a poor
everyone
Mumbai Indians team in the future? I don't think that'll happen. Kit review. It's the classic, isn't it? There's shut your eyes. Imagine Mumbai Indians. It's the same. It's the same as what you're imagining. Like they've stuck with what they know. Some people might call it conservative. Some people would call it appealing to the boomer market. They clearly know where the money is.
It's a brand, isn't it? It's a brand.
Yes, it is a brand.
It's a successful brand. Why change it?
Yeah.
It's like Tiger Woods' Nike Red on a Sunday, right? Mm-hmm. Mumbai Indians just playing their Champions gear all the time.
Yeah. That's good. I like that. It is a classic. I like the jersey. I like blue. It's got a nice gold trim. It's not too garish. Probably couldn't wear it in the street. Anyway, random fact. On previous previews, we've talked about billionaires, flamingos, that sort of thing, Marine Drive as our facts from Mumbai. None of the facts will ever be as good as the iron pole of Delhi. But today, boys, we're going to be talking about trains. Did you know that India's first railway ran from Mumbai to a place called Thane?
I didn't know that, no.
Yeah. 1853 was I've written down here a question for you guys. When we're the first train run on that line, but I've just read out the answer. So there we go. There's also a train, Mumbai to Pune. It's the first train built by a woman in India. Alice Treadwell apparently designed or something that train. I didn't do that much research. I just read that. Who are their players? Let's talk cricket. Rohit Sharma, Jasprit Bumrah, Kishan, Pollard, Suryakumar Yadav. They're pretty good. I don't know if you've been watching any IPL in the last 4 or 5 years, but they kept a lot of those players and they bought back the other good one. And they've ended up, I think, with a pretty good team. If you look at their top three, it's going to be, more than likely Rohit, Kishan, and Sky. I can't think off the top of my head, or even earlier when I was actually thinking about this, of a better top three in this tournament. Delhi, arguably. I don't think so, though.
Hey, Bairstow, Agarwal, and Darwan, maybe.
No, I'm taking no. I don't think that's even close. To be perfectly honest, I think Kishan, Rohit, and Sky are substantially better. I think they're really good. They've got Pollard as well. If he stays IPL Pollard, he's arguably the best hitter in the world.
Yeah.
Tymal Mills coming in as a death bowler to back up Jasprit Bumrah. That could be like 6 lockdown overs at the end of the game if they wanted to.
Guys, you don't want to be in that situation as a batsman, do you? Oh, we only need 30 off the last 6. Oh, shit.
Yeah. So they're good. I mean, a player that I had down here that I wanted to talk about that wasn't on the list is a guy called Tilak Varma. He's 19 years old from Hyderabad. That's left-handed and has like a kind of hybrid technique. That's what I'm going to call it. So he can play like cover drives, high elbow, but can also play cover drives where he's hitting the ball way out in front of him. Like so think here, Jason Roy on the one hand, that cover drive, but also Joe Root's cover drive. So you can kind of do both of those. Really nice hybrid player. I think he'll be a player, probably will play in their 11, maybe 5. And I think he will have a pretty big year. So I'm putting out a youngster there. Because we've talked loads about how good Mumbai Indians are and all these players. So I thought I'd do something a little bit different and say Tilak Varma. Also, he can bowl off spin, which is pretty important for a team who have a pretty big weakness, I think, when it comes to spin, because they sort of just ignored this. Fellas, I don't know, what did you think of their auction strategy when it came to picking up a spinner?
I don't think it's dissimilar to what they've done in the past, right? I mean, Rahul Chahal turned into a decent spinner, obviously played for India for the first time last year, but was pretty unproven. And actually they've kind of done the same here, and Murugan Ashwin and Markande. I'm not surprised by it. I think they value, they play a different T20 to other teams.
Yeah, that's sort of what I've got down here. I wrote, however, if you're going to have a weakness, then I think this is the one to have. They've got a pretty good spinner instead of a great spinner. And I think it's extremely rare, in my opinion anyway, and some people might disagree with this. I think it's extremely rare that the 4 overs of leg spin actually change the match that much. I think basically what happens is 24 for 1.
The other thing is
always
the variation between your best pace death bowler and your best spinner, especially in something like the IPL and with local talent. The variation between Jasprit Bumrah bowling at the death and someone else bowling at the death, like Prashant Krishna or something, it could be absolutely huge. But the difference between, say, Chahal and Ashwin or something, it might be 5 runs. It's not going to be.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. It might be less, to be honest. Maybe Murugan Ashwin. I mean, I think Murugan Ashwin is bad. He was playing in the IPL. He's not just like some guy off the street they picked here.
He's a reasonably good. Yeah.
I think you could also argue, and I think this might be a bigger weakness actually than spin. Spin's the one that's like, oh wow, they had a guy who played for India and now they have nobody. I think their power play bowling might be a bit more of a problem than their spin, because you think of Jasprit Bumrah, and really where he excels, where he is brilliant, is at the end of an innings. Same for Tymal Mills. You don't really even want to give Tymal Mills the ball, I don't think, in the power play, because it's just not sort of what he does. And I think with them obviously investing in Jofra Archer to fix this problem next year, we're going to be seeing a lot of Unadkat this year.
I think Tampi might play. Basil Tampi could be given the new ball, I think.
And you think that will be positive value?
But I'm not going to say he's going to be better than Bumrah. I'm not going to put my hat on my neck on the line there. But you're right. Yeah, I think if there's going to be a team, like on last year's shows, we were talking around how a team's going to set up to try and beat Mumbai Indians, and we've just previewed Rajasthan Royals. Right? We said that actually they are targeting winning games pretty much in the power play, both with batting and with bowling. To beat this Mumbai Indian side, that's what you've got to be trying to target. We've already talked that Bumrah and Tymal Mills are going to lock down the back end of the innings. Teams have to take more risks up front against this team.
Fortunately for Mumbai Indians, nobody in the IPL does that. So it's looking pretty good. Like both their weaknesses, nobody really ever goes after a leg spinner, even if they're not that good. And nobody, really, really rare to see somebody actually try and win the game from a batting perspective in the power play. Teams are so happy to be 45 for 1 at the end of those 6 overs that you're almost always going to be in good shape, I think. Unadkat or no Unadkat.
So check out this lineup. Out of this lineup, who are the overseas players that are going to be playing more often than not?
So I'll do my 11, shall I? And you can fill this in. Sharma, Kishan, Suryakumar Yadav. I've got Tilak Varma down as probably number 4.
Okay.
Tim David. We've not even talked about Tim David, and he is like man of the hour, isn't he?
Hardik Pandya's replacement in this side.
Yeah. Kyron Pollard at 6. Now, I have Daniel Sams as 7. And I think there's probably other points of view on that, maybe. Murugan Ashwin, Jasprit Bumrah, Tymal Mills, and Jaidev Unadkat. I'm not exactly sure which order those 3 will bat in. I think Ashwin will probably be number 8, but the bottom 3, I don't know. That is what I sort of expect.
So are you thinking that Daniel Sams bowls a bit more up front? He's thinking he fills the void in terms of the power play overs. Yeah,
I think so. It's. I do think their last bowler is a problem, and I do think their power play is a problem.
Is Unadkat in the Lord category?
He is, I think, in the Lord.
It's Lord Unadkat, is it? Yeah.
Yeah, but I think Deepak Chahar is the obvious comparison there. I think if you're going to get, and it's not a direct comparison because Unadkat is not as good as Deepak Chahar.
Yeah, his average is terrible.
Yeah, but if you're going to get any value out of Unadkat, then you're going to get that value in the power play, I think. Daniel Sams is kind of an interesting one because I don't think his bowling is particularly special, but I think they might need an extra batter, and his batting is pretty decent for somebody who can bowl 2-3 overs. They're going to have some problems. It's not all plain sailing here, but I think the firepower of that batting lineup, let's just go through that again. Sharma, Kishan, Yadav, Varma, Tim David, Pollard, and then potentially Daniel Sams as number 7. That is very difficult to match. Throw Mills and Bumrah in as your 2 defensive bowlers there. I think they'll put other teams under enough pressure that you'll see, even if the other teams will know that they have to target these other 12 overs so badly that they'll make mistakes. That's what I think will happen. Or they'll fuck up and they won't target those other 12 overs and they'll get Bumrah, which is what the other thing that Mumbai have historically done. So that's what I'm thinking there.
The other thing is, I mean, you say they've got problems, but I'm looking, having looked at, taken a cursory glance at every team so far, everyone's got problems.
Well, this is one of the things I actually had down. The people are a bit down. I know I've spoken to a few people who know what they're talking about with T20 cricket, and they're a bit like, I'm not sure about Mumbai Indians this year. I don't think they're as good as they used to be. I think they're a bit weak here and there. Who's going to bowl in the power play for them? These sorts of questions. But they're coming from such a high bar. Now, I know they didn't make the playoffs last year, but they were so good the year before that we're thinking of this all singing, all dancing team. And it's a bit like Rajasthan that have got a little bit better from last year. Mumbai have got a little bit worse. And now everyone's like sort of losing their minds about, how they're not as good anymore. That top 7 is by miles the best top 7 in the world in franchise cricket. It might be the best top 7 in the world. You've got Ishan Kishan and Suryakumar Yadav. There's the only way that Mumbai Indians aren't super competitive is if there is actually a huge flaw in Ishan Kishan's game that people maybe suspect. Maybe it's off spin. Maybe it's really fast bowling. If that does exist, then maybe
he's no good, is he? God, weak against really fast bowling.
Maybe they've spent too much money on a player that won't be as valuable as they think. If he is 80% as good as we think he could be as his ceiling, then they're by miles the best team. That's what well, maybe not by miles the best team, but they're by miles safe in the playoff spots. Is what I think. I did have one final weakness: age. I think Pollard is old. He is old. I think Rohit Sharma is old. Suryakumar Yadav is not young.
But CSK, it works for CSK.
Yeah,
works for last year.
I'm not saying I'm saying that maybe some of these players come back and they're not as good. Pollard hasn't looked as good as he has in the IPL in any other cricket for 2 years, but he does look good in the IPL. So who knows? Right, I'm going to wrap up quickly. Why you should support them. I think as I said on the preview last year, it's if you love glory. Now I'm not saying I am. Well, no, I was going to say I'm not saying that in a sneery way. I am saying that in a sneery way. I am sneering at you for loving glory, if that's the case. But
who did you support last year? The IPL?
I supported Mumbai Indians.
Oh, right, yeah, right.
I drew it out of a hat, didn't I? I'm not saying that loving glory is bad. Plenty of people Plenty of famous. Ross, name somebody who liked glory.
Any Man United fan born in the 90s.
No, I mean famous person, not like
Oh, well, right.
Churchill. Maybe we don't bring Churchill into this, but Churchill, he liked glory.
One of my facts is actually about Churchill.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Julius Caesar, Alexander the Great. All these people, they're famous, aren't they? So maybe if you want to be one of those people, they would definitely
all
support
stories
Mumbai
with a
Indians.
happy ending as well.
But they would all support Mumbai Indians, wouldn't they? None of them would be pissing around with Sunrisers.
I don't know if they'd probably just try and invade everything before.
Right, prediction. I think they're going to be one of the teams that no one's a playoff banker here because the season's too short. But I think they're 70-80% chance of making the playoffs. And I think they're the favourite for the
favourite. Wow.
Well, I mean, like the favourite's only going to win 25 out of every 100 tournaments, aren't they, in the IPL? But I think they're the favourite. Anyone want to wrap up with any thoughts?
No, I actually just like the composition of their team. I think they've actually got a good balance. They've got teams which they've got players who back each other up, I think, a little bit in terms of, say, Fabian Allen, for example, when Daniel Sams could play.
He was the one that could come in for Sams.
Yeah, like if Sams was to play the start of the tournament, and as the pitches get worse because we're only playing on 3 pitches, actually Fabian Allen is actually really quite a good option to have to kind of slot into that team. So it's that kind of thinking that I think sets Mumbai Indians a little bit out from the rest, where the others are kind of just like, oh, look at all these Ferraris that I've got. And he's just like, yeah, but you've bought no wheels, mate. It's kind of that bit. So, I think it's going to be a good season for them.
And if Jofra Archer is back like close to what he was before when he's fit next year, that's going to be disgusting.
Yeah, that is ridiculous. Do you have?
They just let him have it. They literally just like, yeah, you can have him.
I think the best 2 T20 bowlers in the world, maybe Rashid Khan's in there. Yeah, maybe Rashid Khan is in there. 2 of the best 3.
Yeah, and Tim Mills was the linchpin in that England lineup, right? The wheels came off when he got injured in the World Cup. Yeah. So what a great person to have.
Right, time for a little break, and we will be back with a new team and a new preview.
You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.